Hello and welcome to Tour Obscure, another episode of Once Upon a Town, the series where I visit different towns, villages and suburbs and have a look at all the interesting things it has to offer. Today I'm in a very windy Hillsborough to have a look at a unique supermarket and this sweet factory. At the heart of Hillsborough, we find an old army barracks, which have been transformed into possibly the most unique supermarket in the UK. The barracks were constructed in 1848 and replaced the previous barracks down at Hillsborough. It ultimately closed in 1932 as a barracks and was then used for industry until the 1980s when it became derelict. It was at that point it was decided to convert it to retail use, and that has given us what I consider to be the most unique supermarket in the UK. Can you prove me wrong? So this spot right here would have been part of the parade grounds, and this photo shows you a parade taking place on the King's birthday. And today the parade ground forms part of the multi-storey car park serving the supermarket. How lovely. On Roselle Road you'll find the Simpkin sweet factory. Now this place has got a fascinating story. It was founded in 1921 by Albert Simpkin, who had served in World War I. After he finished his service, he received an operation for shrapnel wounds and was given glucose to help his recovery. He saw benefit in this and decided that glucose should be made in sweet form, and so set his own company up, which was the Simpkin Sweet Company. And this is the part where you expect me to tell you that Albert sold it to a big corporation and it now performs under a big corporate umbrella. But no, the company is still run today by his grandchildren. How lovely. Close to the Leppings Lane tram stop you will find the former Hillsborough Park cinema. This was opened in 1921 and had a capacity for 1,300. The cinema closed in 1967 to become a bingo hall, and then in later life become a supermarket, first Netto and now Asda. Progress. And if you couldn't already tell, but this used to be a cinema from the architecture, the biggest clue is still there on the back wall. You can just see the faded markings advertising the Hillsborough Park cinema. On Bradfield Road you'll find the former site of the Blue Ball pub, one of the most popular pubs in the Hillsborough area. It was built in the 1820s. Whilst researching this video, I found a lovely review from one person on the forum which said the first time they went into the Blue Ball, they saw a mass brawl, and on the second time they went into the Blue Ball, they saw a mass brawl. Ultimately, the pub closed in 2016 and was demolished in 2017. Now, to demolish such a historic building, I bet they've put something really worthwhile in its place. So let's go and see. I'm excited. Oh. Further down Bradfield Road you'll find the Regent Court flats. These were built in 1937 in the subdivision of Art Deco called Streamline Moderne. The block contains 202 flats and they were renovated in the 1960s. And they did such a good job of the renovation in the 60s, but they needed renovating again in the 1990s. So judging by that, we are due another renovation. But to be fair, I think they're looking alright. The Regent Court flats also starred in the Full Monty film. Gaz, the lead in the film, lived in one of the flats just there. How amazing. In the middle of Hillsborough Park, you'll find Hillsborough Hall, built in 1779 by Thomas Stead. It was named in honour of the Earl of Hillsborough. Not this Hillsborough, the Hillsborough in Northern Ireland. This is going to get confusing. At the time of its construction, Thomas Stead was living about 500 yards in that direction in Borough Lee House. Thomas Stead ultimately sold the property, and along the years it was owned by multiple families. In 1890, the building's owner died, but instead of selling the building, along with all its associated lands, it was divided up into 14 lots. The biggest lot, of 50 acres, was purchased by Sheffield Council, then known as the Sheffield Corporation, who used it to create Hillsborough Park. Another section of land was purchased by Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, who were looking for a new home after leaving their Olive Grove Stadium, and that resulted in the construction of Hillsborough Stadium. Long story short, the sale of one house resulted in a massive football stadium and a huge park. Top stuff. Just across from the Hillsborough Barracks, you will find the former Hillsborough Baths. Now this was opened in 1927, but closed in 1991 and then went on to become a bar and a venue called The Deep End. I bet you can't guess where they got the name from. So in the former Hillsborough Baths now you can enjoy a nice pint, and you'll see in this photo here that just behind me would have been a set of diving boards. So the chap I've got standing with me now is Will, and his dad actually learnt to swim behind us at the Hillsborough Baths, and he's got a very detailed story about his dad's experiences. So Will, what was your dad's experience like learning to swim at Hillsborough Baths?
Wet.
Thanks, Will. On the corner of Hatton Street, you'll find the former site of the Phoenix Theatre. This was opened in 1911 and had a capacity of 640. In 1933, it was converted into a cinema, but by 1960, it closed and was demolished shortly after. The site was then turned into a petrol station, which has disappeared as well. So probably the most famous building in Hillsborough is the stadium itself, the home of Sheffield Wednesday. But the stand behind me was the first full-length cantilever stand in the UK. Now cantilever simply means but the roof supports itself. There's no need for any pillars that obstruct supporters' views. It's something to do with these steel trusses what wrap around the roof. That I don't bloody know. Now you'll notice, but I did say the first full-length cantilever stand. So where was the first one? Well, that was at Scunthorpe United's old showground, but that only ran for half the length of the pitch, making this the first full-length one. When this stand opened in 1961, Sheffield Wednesday played a friendly against Santos to celebrate its opening, and one player in the Santos side was called Pele. Must have been good at football, never heard of him. And just for your attention, I am a Sheffield United fan, so I'm surprised I've not burst into flames standing on this ground. So if that's not worth pressing one of these buttons, I don't know what is. In all seriousness though, even as a Sheffield United fan, it's sad to see what's happened to Sheffield Wednesday, but hopefully with Chan Siri now gone, things can progress. What a shithouse. On Hamerton Road you will find the former site of the Hamerton Road Police Station. Now police stations aren't all that interesting, but this one was very special indeed, because this is where the Yorkshire Ripper was brought when he was arrested in 1981. During the late 70s and early 80s, the Yorkshire Ripper was on the loose around West Yorkshire and claimed many victims. But in 1981, he was in Sheffield and was spotted by a police officer in his car, which was on false plates. He was promptly arrested and brought to the closest police station, which was here. In 2014, the building was deemed not fit for purpose and it was closed. And then in 2016, the building was demolished and the land now sits unoccupied. In 1864, the Dale Dyke Dam burst, causing mass devastation, especially here in Hillsborough. And this photo shows the aftermath of the devastation. But you will note how much Hillsborough has changed since, because the only two buildings you can see in this photo are the old Blue Ball pub, which we visited earlier, and the Shakespeare pub, which is still there today. Thank you very much to all the people who have donated via the Super Thanks button. Your names are here. Thank you very much. It's genuinely appreciated. So that's everything from Hillsborough. If you like unique supermarkets and sweet factories, then this is the place for you. Thank you very much for joining me, and until next time, ta-ra.